Am I the a-hole for sending a recording of my ex asking to open our relationship to her parents? I, male 26, broke up with my girlfriend of 4 years, Mary, female 27, about a month ago because she asked me to open our relationship. It is /was and always will be a major line in the sand for me, something that I have opened up to her about in the past. We've had a great relationship, and the only thing that stands out, and the only reason it stands out now is because of this situation, is she progressively started making a lot more sexual jokes about some of our shared friends over the last few months. Some involved her being with them, and others were three-way jokes, etc. I won't lie, I played along a little, but I consistently made some joking response along the lines of, "You're more than enough for me," and or, "I don't like sharing." Never took any of it seriously because why would I? Until she asked, and I found out / realized that she was probably trying to gauge my response and see how open I was. Mary asked when we were getting ready for bed about a month ago kind of bluntly. I was scrolling on my phone and she was getting changed and goes, "If I ask you to open the relationship, would you?" This might sound super corny, but it was like I had an out-of-body experience and all of the above hit me at once. All the jokes and comments so far made sense, in a she's trying to butter me up to the idea kind of way, and went really numb for a second. To her credit, she must have seen how freaked out I was and asked if I was okay. I pretended I didn't hear her and asked her to repeat herself, and she was really hesitant too. Kept saying she didn't say anything and only repeated it when I insisted. Then I went to voice notes, set it to record, and put my phone down to talk to her. I don't remember much of it, just that I tried to stay calm and keep her talking. But the note is just over an hour and a half long, and it feels like I'm listening in to a conversation that happened between two strangers. She trickled truth all the way through it, and ultimately stuck to the idea that she hadn't been cheating. She didn't have any one person in mind, but had been fantasizing about mutual friends and people at work, and seemed to get the idea that they'd be open to something if she asked. A lot of it is her being defensive and me trying to needle information out of her without it escalating into an argument. A lot of me placating her and trying to make her feel comfortable enough to keep talking. The apartment is mine, and I suggested we take a break a few nights later, so she went to stay with a friend for a weekend. By the next Monday, I'd spoken to some of my friends and my sister separately and come to the conclusion that we were done, and suggested she started looking for somewhere else to stay. She was upset, but didn't really argue and had the vast majority of her stuff out and at her parents' at the end of the week. So coming 2 days ago, her mom reached out over WhatsApp to say she was disappointed in how I handled everything. The message wasn't really framed in a way that she was reprimanding me, more that she wished we could have worked it out. She then added me to a group chat with her husband, ex's stepdad, and they both kinda tag-teamed me, saying that we could work it out. I was making a mistake and that I shouldn't overthink things. I eventually got it out of them that my ex had fed them a very vague story that we had broken up because she'd wanted to take the next step in our relationship, and that I'd freaked out. We'd argued and she'd been effectively kicked out. Her stepdad was leaning on the fact that he thought I was more mature than this, and her mom just kept repeating how disappointing this whole situation was. So I was pissed. In the heat of the moment, I told them that I had a recording of our conversation that I could send that would explain what she actually meant about taking the next step. I initially tried to email it to them, but it was being a ball ache, so I eventually shared it via Drive. In the meantime, I took a few screenshots of my ex and I's messages, ones where she made jokes and comments about sex with our friends and a lady from her office, and sent them along to that shared group chat. I haven't heard back since. Again, it's been 2 days, and I don't feel as vindicated anymore. A good few of my ex's comments were about other women, and I'm freaking out because I don't know how, if at all, open she's been about her sexuality with them. I also think I shouldn't have engaged at all, and I shouldn't have felt the need to prove my innocence to either of them. Am I the a-hole? I've checked in with friends and over social media, and it doesn't look like there has been any fallout. Also, my ex blocked me a week ago before I spoke to her parents, so I can't really contact her without going in person. And at this point, is it too late to even give her a heads up or check in? Edit. To address a few points I have seen in multiple comments. We don't live in the US, and we have no laws on recording private conversations on the books. I'm not proud of doing it, but it wasn't illegal. Mary and I had several mature, calm conversations about what we both wanted out of this relationship. Mary wasn't sure if she wanted to stay and kind of admitted to self-sabotaging by opening the relationship. Mary and I have been friends since we were 11. Her mom was my coach when I swam competitively, and our friend group and families are very close and intermingled, so she was wary about what would happen if we went on a break or fully broke up. I was not trying to punish her for being open to polyamory. Now for the top comments. You're defending yourself because she couldn't be honest and unleashed her parents on you. Any results are her responsibility, not the a-hole. I don't think she intentionally sicked her parents on me, but I also feel like I don't even know who she really is at this point. I also don't like the feeling of just making things difficult for her, even though she's clearly still telling half-truths. Maybe she didn't intentionally and specifically tell them to contact you, but the fact they did means she gave them a story implying you were at fault at best. The fact they could just randomly message you means you were close enough to them that you could and did comfortably speak to each other. Combining these facts make it entirely predictable that they would contact you in this situation. Whether by intent or lazy incompetence, it still comes down to being her responsibility. If you had contacted them, I'd vote very differently, but you didn't. Yeah, let's not play dumb here. She was covering her cheating butt with her parents. Honey, why did Opie break up with you? Mom, basically because I was asking him permission to cheat. Permission to cheat? Yes, I asked for an open relationship because I wanted to go bang other dudes and some girls too. That's the reality. She was not going to tell her parents, so she used her ex-boyfriend as the villain and scapegoat. But you, have to give her the benefit of the doubt, even after she nuked her own relationship of years because she wanted to sleep with other people. Well, she should have ended the relationship and go do it, not expect he was going to be there waiting for her to sleep with other guys and be happy about it. You're not the a-hole for feeling the need to defend yourself against your ex's lies to her parents, but sharing the recording and screenshots was probably not the best approach. I don't think they would have believed him otherwise. I don't think so either, but now that I have a clearer head, I can see how I could have handled this better than I did. Next story. Am I the a-hole for telling my 23 female boyfriend 24 that it's his fault if he misses our flight and that I'll continue without him? My boyfriend and I planned a trip for the end of the summer months ago. Last night, we were still trying to decide how we'd get to the airport when my mom told me that she could take us before work. I told my boyfriend who lives 30 minutes from my house to be at my house no later than 6 a.m. for my mother to drive us to the airport at 6:15. He promised that he would be there around 5:45. This morning, he was nowhere to be seen or heard from until around 6:20. He told me that his phone fell and he didn't hear it. By then, my mom had to leave and take just me or she'd be late to work. I told him that he should drive to the airport or get an Uber. His mom decides that she will drive him an hour to the airport since he was too late for my mom to take us. He gets to the airport a little after me and I checked in our bags. We get to the bag drop and he realizes he does not have his ID. His wallet is at his house, which is about an hour from the airport. I tell him that I'm going to continue to TSA and go to the gate. His mom is going back to get his wallet, which will obviously take a while. I tell him that I'm getting on the flight regardless, and that if he misses it, then it's a result of his own mishaps. He then begins to ask me what to do if he misses it. I tell him that he's an adult and should figure out a way to make it to our destination by contacting customer service. I planned everything for the trip down to the flights and travel arrangements. I feel like at this point, I've done all I can to do to ensure a successful and smooth trip, and I don't feel as if it's my responsibility to do damage control for him if he misses the flight. There is no refund for the Airbnb that we split the price for if we do not go. Am I the a-hole for continuing without him? Not the a-hole. Boyfriend needs to grow up and act like an adult. You've done all the work up to this point. All he had to do was show up on time with a proper ID to make it through security, and couldn't do that. He needed mom to bail him out. If he misses the flight, it's a good opportunity for him to learn about what consequences are, and to sort out his own issues for himself. For Opie, his reaction will tell you a lot about him. If he does miss the flight and has to figure things out himself, does he get mad at you or pout? Or does he own up to his own mistakes and accept responsibilities/apologize for causing these issues? I agree. First, it was the not waking up on time, and he couldn't even remember to double check for his wallet? I give him grace, but that's just something I can't understand. Traveling with children sucks. Not the a-hole. Traveling with children is less hassle than traveling with this guy. Next story. Am I the a-hole for not wanting to pay child support after my wife cheated with my older brother? I never thought my life would end up like this, but here we are. I've been married to my wife for 5 years. After we tied a knot, I didn't really keep in touch with my family much. It wasn't intentional, we just drifted apart. My wife and I were focused on building our own lives, and that's what mattered to me. A few months ago, my world came crashing down. I found out my wife had been having an affair with my older brother. The betrayal was like a punch to the gut. I didn't even know how to process it. Everything I thought was solid in my life was suddenly shattered. But it got worse. When I told my mom what happened, she didn't react the way I expected. Instead of supporting me, she took my brother aside. She actually told me to get over it and said that this is just how life is sometimes. Hearing that from my own mother was like salt in the wound. Since then, I've cut contact with my brother and haven't spoken to my mom much either. Now, my wife, or soon-to-be ex-wife, has come to me with another bombshell. She's pregnant and says the baby is mine. Here's the thing, I can't even be sure. We were still being intimate even as things started falling apart between us, so it's possible. But after everything she's done, I don't know what to believe anymore. She's already talking about how I'll need to pay child support, saying that I have no choice if the baby is mine. I'm not stupid. I know what my legal responsibilities are. But I can't bring myself to just accept this without knowing for sure. I want a paternity test before I commit to anything. But even if the baby is mine, part of me feels like it's so unfair that I'm stuck supporting someone who betrayed me in the worst way possible. My mom says I need to be a man and just move on, but I'm really struggling with this. How can I be expected to just accept all of this like it's no big deal? So, am I the a-hole for wanting to confirm that the baby is actually mine before agreeing to pay child support? And even if it is mine, would I be wrong for feeling like I shouldn't have to be tied to her forever after what she did? Now for the top comments. You need to confirm that the child is indeed yours because of the events circulating around your ex's pregnancy. However, if it is yours, then you need to pay the child support. And also don't hold grudges against your kid. It's your kid after all, and your kid has nothing to do with the horrible decisions people around you have made. You're not the a-hole here unless you don't pay the child support. I'd start the procedures for paternity test immediately and start talking to a lawyer about what you should be doing and not doing. I know everything's hurting, but you're gonna hurt a lot more in the pocket, on top of your mental turmoil, if you do not talk to a lawyer and get things rolling. Also, because your brother presumably shares DNA with you, he needs to be tested too. The difference will likely be very small, unless your mother has a surprise coming. Might be why mom was so okay with it. She's probably a cheater too. Get the divorce first, then go with her to the doctor to prove she's pregnant, then have the tests done to determine paternity. First things first before making any decisions. Personally, I wouldn't even talk to her about anything until after the baby is born. Get started now on your new life, and say goodbye to mom, your brother, and your ex. Good luck. Married women sometimes can't get divorced while they are pregnant. It's also often given that the husband is legally considered to be the father of any child born during a marriage. So it's lawyer time to get the necessary info for OP's state and state situation, assuming US. There are a bunch of people in here that don't know what they are talking about, including OP, and thinking that not paying child support is an option if the kid is his, and mom winds up being granted primary custody. OP needs to talk to a lawyer because they can clear up a bunch of the stuff that he is worrying about, some of which is likely needless. Source, I'm a lawyer. Also, who continues sleeping with their wife after they learn she cheated and their marriage is falling apart? God, what a dumbass. Last story. Am I the a-hole for telling my cheating ex-girlfriend that I'm not responsible for her abortion? I, 30 male, had been dating Anna, 29 female, for a few years. Now, our relationship wasn't picture perfect, but we were happy, or at least I thought. Well, when she told me she was pregnant, I was surprised because I always wrap it up and make sure to pull out. Double caution, I know. So I was confused, but I guess it can happen. Well, she told me she wanted to keep the baby. I am financially secure, and although it took me by surprise, I surprisingly found myself open to the idea of raising a child with her. Well, a few weeks go by and I catch her out in a lie and find out that she had been cheating on me for months with someone. She comes clean. I was furious and immediately questioned whether I was the father. Though, to be honest, it wasn't even that. I just didn't want to have a kid with a cheater, even if it was mine. I only want to have a kid if I'm going to stay with that person and fully trust them. My trust was broken. She cried and begged me to stay, so I told her I would maybe consider it if she aborted. She then cried again and said she wanted to keep the baby. But I said, you either choose this baby, who probably isn't mine, or you choose me. Well, she chose me and aborted. And then tried my best to move past what happened, even going as far as to go couples counseling with her. But I still couldn't move past it. So I told her, in spite of my efforts, I can't trust her and that I'm breaking up with her. She freaked out and said I forced her to get the procedure, that I'm evil, all sorts of names. The thing is, I never forced her, and she cheated. And that baby wasn't likely mine, so it's not my issue. Though even if it was, I would be with a cheater, which I can't accept. Am I the a-hole for this? I tried to reconcile with her. It didn't work. You should have just left in the first place. Agree. Now he has certainty that she won't come after him throughout her pregnancy, as I bet the affair partner would have done a runner when he got the news. I'm betting he already had, which is why she came back to OP for support. Ultimately, she's the a-hole. However, you knew what you were doing. I don't believe for 1 second that you were ever planning on staying with her. You were looking out for yourself, because there was at least a possibility that you were the father. As you said, you didn't want to have a baby with someone who you had no plans on being with. Therefore, you played a game and convinced her to abort. The decision was ultimately her own, but you knew what you were doing. I fully support tricking women into getting abortions if they cheated, so you're not tied to this person for the next 18 years. Hey, as long as you own it, I'm just saying he needs to stop acting like he didn't have a plan. Just own it.